I would be taking an understanding that on an average we have 1 year to prepare, and for the third years, well, you guys are left with 5 months. So, but then I will just quickly rush through the material that I used, and then some of the tweaks that I did during the preparation. So, starting with history. Now, history has 4 aspects: ancient history, medieval history, modern history, and art and culture, which again is a part of history. So what I referred to for history was your old NCERTs, class 11th and 12th, for ancient and for medieval. And I also referred to any family issues, be it anything that the situation you are in right now. Try to resolve, try to become a problem solver. Try to have an optimistic view towards life. Try to have an optimistic solution towards any problem that you are facing, be it personal or professional, or in your education or your examination. Because this whole UPSC is not just a test of knowledge, it is a test of your personality. It is a test of how resilient you are. It is a test of how long you can and how far you can stretch yourself. Because UPSC is going to stretch you. The syllabus and the material, I think all toppers and all people who are there on the other side will be guiding you with. You will get a lot of resources online. So there's no rocket science that you will get some new material that you can read and then you will go and crack the examination. Of course, you will have to work very hard. Of course, you will have to strategize. Of course, you will have to revise. But at the end of the day, while you are doing all these things, understand that you are not doing it for your tomorrow, you are doing it for your present. And when you realize that you are imbibing those things in your day-to-day lives, when you are resolving the solutions around you, when you are not taking that amount of stress, when you are able to de-stress your friends or your family or anyone near you, you will see that your entire persona is becoming very UPSC appropriate. So that is what we bureaucrats are finally, when we finally come on the other side, we are pushed with situations. We are given 10 scenarios in a day that can really hassle us up. But the test that we have to pass daily is that we have to keep our cool, we have to keep our calm, and we have to sail through. So this is what you all also have to do while you're preparing for the examination. The third aspect to your UPSC strategy should be about the current affairs. Now, current affairs would mean anything and everything under the sun. How you have to keep yourself adept with current affairs is ensuring that you read one newspaper every day. I'm not going to suggest one particular paper to you because I think it's been battered with the Hindu or the Indian Express. That is completely your personal choice, whatever you feel comfortable with. But make sure that you are reading the newspaper and especially the editorials, because the editorials are not only going to help you understand the issues, but are also going to help you in your answer writing for mains, as well as for responding in a nice way, in a solemn way, in an officer-like way during your interview. So be very sure of the fact that when you're reading the newspaper, you have to read the editorials every day. Because most of the topics, owing to the COVID times, a lot of topics, say for example, would be coming on COVID. And every day there would be one or the other article that would be talking about COVID. Do not go into the facts part every day, even though that is important, but try to understand the different viewpoints that different writers of different expertise are giving in those editorials about COVID linked to their respective subjects or issues. So have current affairs as a very strong, you have to have your current affairs very strong. For that, one newspaper, and along with that, any of the online resources. Like in my case, I used to refer to this Vision IAS and sometimes to this Insights on IAS for a daily glimpse through of the current affairs that would be happening. Because not everything you can cover in one newspaper. So instead of just keeping yourself restricted to one newspaper, which you'll have to anyway do, you'll have to refer to one online source, because I think all of us have mobile phones here, all of us have Android or iPhones here, so we can afford giving some 10-15 minutes daily to either of these websites and go through their daily current updates that they keep giving. because that will keep refreshing you of the knowledge that you have gained through the newspaper or through the material that you have read for your preparation. Fourth aspect is, of course, the basics. The basics, I mean the NCERTs. Now, NCERT is becoming the starting Bible for all you people here. I mean, any person who has cracked the UPSC examination will vouch for the fact that he or she has gone through the UPSC, has gone through the NCERT at least once in his or her life. So NCERTs are something that you have to necessarily use, you have to necessarily go through. Only after that should you move on to any other higher book or any higher material in that respective subject. What all NCERTs to be used in what all subjects, I will be discussing about that in my prelim strategy. Then the fifth, the online tool that is very important for you to keep revising or keep going through at least twice in a week are the government websites. The government websites, especially that of ministries like Ministry of External Affairs and Ministry of Environment, because they keep publishing articles, they keep publishing information that somewhere or the other finds its way in the prelims question paper these days. It has been an observation in the last 5-6 years that the government material, the government information that is coming directly from their websites or their publications is becoming very crucial. Of course, you cannot be reading everything because it gets very detailed. So again, regarding that, I will be specifically telling you which all ministries or which all publications to specifically focus on, so that you have an idea of what the current government is focusing on, which can find its way in the UPSC examination, either in the prelims or the mains, or they can discuss it in the interview. The sixth aspect is, of course, taking mock tests. Mock tests, answer writing. These are two aspects that no aspirant can do without. Mock tests for prelims, mock tests for mains. But for prelims, mock tests is something that you should start as soon as you carry weightage in your marks. And then there are two optionals. One optional that you take in your CSE, and in forest service, the two optionals that you are taking, each will have 2 papers. So in total, forest will have 6 papers for its mains. And I think related to this, we can take up questions when we are doing the Q&A, so that I can give them more insights if anybody wants to know. And finally, moving on to the last aspect of today's discussion by me, which is the interview. So I think why I chose and why I even discussed with Tushar that I would want to speak on interview is because I have felt that a lot of people and a lot of coaching institutes and a lot of doyens of civil services also end up focusing more on prelims and mains, because that is the more lucrative part, wherein people are doing coaching, wherein people are going and writing the tests, so on and so forth. But interview is often left at the end. And interview is then assumed that once you have cleared mains, you will be able to prepare for interview in that short span of, say, 15 days, 20 days, 1 month or 2 months at max. But I personally feel that interview, when it comes to your rank, can be a make or break. Because, a person who has performed well in the interview can get a 200 plus score with, and say, for example, average marks in the mains. But a person with brilliant marks in the mains might fall short if he is not able to perform well in the interview, and the marks do not go beyond a certain 140 or 150. So so I will just give you some idea about what UPSC is asking for in the interview. Now, the UPSC notification, the gazette notification that UPSC gives, it says very clearly that the object of the interview is to assess the personal suitability of the candidate and it focuses on 6 various aspects of your personality that the UPSC board is testing. One is mental alertness. Second is assimilation. Third is clear and logical exposition. Fourth is your balance of judgment. Fifth is your depth of interest. Sixth is your ability for social cohesion and leadership. And finally, your moral and intellectual integrity. Now, I know, in the first go, it seemed pretty heavy, but if you're able to jot down these 6 aspects on a sheet of paper in your room and you stick it on the wall and you try to work on each of these. Let's just pick up one aspect here that says balance of judgment. Now, when you are sitting in front of the UPSC board, they will often ask your views on a controversial topic, on a controversial issue that is taking place in the world right now. Now, if you're very emotive about it, you might just end up supporting one side of the story and you will give your view. However, they are not asking your view. They are asking for a balanced view, because that is what they have already mentioned in the notification, that they're looking for the balance of judgment. So please keep your personal views to yourself. You can have your personal life, definitely. But when you are out there in the public as a public servant, you have to show your balance of judgment. You have to also have the ability for social cohesion. So in any question that is thrown to you, that might be asking for a answer that has to be non-diplomatic or diplomatic, please go the diplomatic way. Yes, you can definitely assert yourself about a certain viewpoint, but you should not get rigid about it. Why I am telling you these things right now is because if you start imbibing these ideas from this point now, only then will you be able to change or attune your personality to that sense in the coming 1 year or 2 years, whenever you are going to appear for the interview. So this is one important aspect. And the other thing is how you can prepare for the interview from this moment onward is whenever you are discussing any issue with your friend or your family, or you're going through any topic related to current affairs, be it related to your hobbies or anything, do a pestle analysis of that in your mind. A pestle analysis, what I mean by pestle analysis, the pestle, I think not many of you would be aware of. Pestle is P stands for political, E stands for economic, S stands for social, T stands for technological, E stands for environmental, and L stands for legal. If you're able to understand all these aspects about any particular issue, trust me, when you are there in the interview board, nobody can take away those marks from you. Because you will have all those 360-degree view ideas about any issue that you have read, and you will be able to give your viewpoint on those. So try to do this pestle analysis, and you will see that and it is not just waiting for that time to come. When you are meeting your people, when you are meeting your folks, you can discuss these things with them, so that your interaction and your communication skills, not just your oral, your written as well as your oral skills, both of them improve in the whole process. And finally, one resource that I had missed out when I was giving the resources during my prelim strategy was referring to this RSTV. Now there are two shows that come on RSTV, which is Rajya Sabha TV. One is India's World, that gives a very good idea about what is happening there in the world and how India is linked to it. And the second is The Big Picture, because The Big Picture will be having discussion on some topical topic, and it will have people from different ideologies. So you will get a 360-degree view about that particular topic. You don't just have to listen to their content, listen and see and observe the way they are communicating, because that is the way that you have to communicate when you are sitting in the interview board. You have to have a smile on your face. You have to also be aware of the fact that you might end up saying, I don't know, for many of the questions. But at the end, if you're able to keep that positive demeanor till the end and answer in a poised way, answer in a way that that is pleasant to the eyes, that is pleasant to the ears, trust me, you will be fetching more marks than what you would have got otherwise. Okay, so that were my 2 cents for the interview. And I think with that, I have wrapped up the 4 aspects that I was to talk about today. And it is 5:58, so I think I did that in 55 minutes. And I was given a 50 minutes target by Tushar, so I think I exceeded by 5. So my apologies for that. And now we are open to Q&A. Thank you.
No such issue, sir. Getting your know about you didn't get to know about time. Our time passed by. So yeah, we are having some of the questions. We shall be taking
Mr.
them.
Raj,
I yes, convener sir has also joined us of the
Mr.
Dhanjam.
Raj,
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
how are you, dear?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Really very informative. I have listened each and every word,
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I
and
hope.
you have give our students very the newspaper, and you have also clarified that they can study any newspaper, which is good strategy. But they have the habit to study the newspaper. Second one, you have very beautifully highlighted what are the 6 points are needed in the interview. So basically, these are the guy. I think they will be benefited from your lecture, and wonderful, very informative. Love you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, sir, for the entire guidance. Getting your sport behind makes us to get such organizations. Thank you, sir. Now coming towards the questions that we are getting up.
Yeah.
So yeah. So the first question that I got from Vasavi is that how to read the economics page of Hindu newspaper. How to read the economics page of Hindu newspaper.
Okay. And the question is asked by whom? Who's the
It is Vasavi Chaturvedi.
teacher?
Vasavi Chaturvedi.
Varsity. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, right in the beginning, I'll just clarify. I myself used to read Indian Express and not the Hindu. But then I think the economics page, when you are reading the economics page of any newspaper, you do not have to get embroiled in the figures that are given all the time. You know, if there is, say for example, if there's an article on exports and imports, instead of trying to remember the figures, try to understand the trend and try to understand the reason behind the trend. If you're able to read the article on that, you go back to your basic macro 12th book, or you go back to the basics of any material that you are using and try to link it with that particular aspect, be it export import, be it your industrial data, be it your inflation data. There are, of course, some figures that you will have to keep in mind, that when you are reading the newspaper, you will have to keep a tab on it, uh, necessarily related to inflation or your percentages of your industrial data. But you don't have to make notes for that. If you're doing it on a day-to-day basis, if you're glancing through the headlines of those, and you are able to glance through the articles in those once in a while, if not daily, I think it will suffice the purpose.
Thank you, sir. Moving ahead to the next question. Anushree is asking that is there any particular tips that you would like to give for the freshers who are in the first year currently, and in what all activities should they participate in college?
Okay. Okay. So that's a very thoughtful question, because I feel had I been able to figure out what I wanted to do in my first year, things would have been pretty different for me. I mean, I decided to write the examination when I was done with Stephens, when I was done with MBA, and then I ended up writing the exam. So I think being a first year, you have a plethora of things to do, and probably join any one or two societies and actively participate in those. Please do not try to just be in the limelight, that you are organizing and you are there as the presenter, etc. Even if you are working behind the scenes, it is adding to your leadership skills, it is adding to your teamwork. So be active in whatever society that you are joining. Preferably, if you're able to participate in some debates or some declamations or some essay competitions, wherein when you are getting yourself involved critically, be it through verbal means or through oral means, I think that will help you, that will definitely help you more compared to others. But whatever you are doing, do it with full interest. And being a fresher, the first recommendation that I would tell you, and those who are in the first year especially, is take your graduation most seriously. If you're able to score well in your graduation and you keep that graduation as your subject in the civil services examination, I mean, nothing like it. You will be able to score great in the mains, and that will be a selling point in your interview also, because people, trust me, the UPSC board gets impressed when they see that what you have done in graduation, you are taking up it in UPSC as well. So focus on these aspects and read the newspaper daily. I think, for beginners, I think these three mantras would suffice.
Moving towards the next question, there's a question from Asta asking that, sir, how can we choose our optional subjects? On what basis can we select our optional?
Okay. So, Asta, see, the first choice, the first organic choice that you should be having is the graduation subject that you do. I mean, if you're comfortable with the subject, if you're comfortable with the content, if you have been scoring well, if you're able to, if you own the subject, then you go with your graduation subject. That would be my first advice. Having said that, not all of us are so lucky, because in midway we realize that, probably this is not we were meant for, or this is not जो हमारे सर के ऊपर से जा रहा है. If that is happening with you, then you need to make a switch when you are taking your optional subject. Now, deciding on your optional should, the main thing that you should be taking into account should be your interest about that subject. If you are interested in international relations, if you are very fond of following who is coming to India, who is going out of India, which country is doing what is US trying to do with China, what is China trying to do with Russia, if you are that sort of person, PSIR becomes a good option for you. If you have a general knack for the arts or the histories, or if you like going to museums or places of historical interest, go for history, go for, then again, if you are more into environment, or you are more into visiting rivers and waterfalls and etc., you can go in for geography. What I'm basically trying to say is, you should, because when you're taking your optional becomes probably 60% of your mains. Because in the GS papers, more or less everybody ends up scoring more or less the same, other than those 20-30 marks plus and minus. Your optionals become very important. So for optionals, your interest is very important. And along with interest, so what you should do is go through the syllabus of the shortlisted optionals that you have done, go through the UPSC syllabus from the UPSC website, and see what you are most comfortable with. Then you try to see the resources. Glance through one or two resources of each of these subjects and see what you are most comfortable with. But if you are going in for humanities subject, please be sure that you should have good writing skills. If you do not have good writing skills, build upon those good writing skills by writing short essays, by writing short summaries, etc. This is something I'm focusing more on the science students, because science students obviously are more used to writing the aim objective methods, and then they forget that we have to do a critical analysis of any topic that we are doing. So I think this is how you should be making the choice.
Moving towards the next question, the Parul is asking, answer writing is placed at the center of CSC. So what particular strategies should we follow to improve our answer writing and presentation skills?
Okay. So see, answer writing is again something that is going to be a test of your personality. I mean, by that I mean not your handwriting, but what you are writing on the paper. If you are able to cover most of the, say for example, not 100%, but 80% of the aspects of that particular question that is being asked in a structured manner, wherein you are giving a small introduction of 1 or 2 lines, you are giving the pros and cons of that particular issue, if it is asking for the pros and cons, and you are able to give your own conclusion towards the end. I mean, write any answer like you are writing an essay, but obviously not that much in detail, but the structure should be there. The body, the introduction, the body, and the conclusion should be there for you in every answer. Along with that, if you want to make your answer writing more interesting, at times you can also imbibe some diagrams or some some diagrams or some flowcharts in it. But again, do not overdo it, because we are not here in for some creative writing competition or some drawing competition. But you can include some diagrams, you can include some flowcharts. Say, for example, if there is a question on what are the various aspects of India's policy with Bangladesh. So if you have given in some idea about the aspects, in the corner you can draw a small border map of India and Bangladesh, and you can put in one or two points of the map or the river about which you have mentioned in the answer. I mean, it should have some relevance with what you are writing in your answer. But please do these things only when you are sure that your basics are in place. If you are able to write the body, center, conclusion, only then you move on to the diagram or the more creative part. One more thing that you should do sometimes is underlining the keywords. But again, do not overdo it. It should not appear that it should not appear like your entire answer is underlined, every word is underlined, because that again loses the purpose. So these are some of the things that you should do. But the main thing is for answer writing is practice. The more you practice writing an answer in those 7.5 to 8 minutes, the better your answer writing skills will get.
Moving towards the next question, there's a similar question from Sonu and Preeti. How can we make the notes? And when should we make the notes? In the first reading of the book itself, or after reading it twice or thrice?
Okay. So note making is again I mean, if I have to give my very honest opinion, I was very much against note making, because of which I barely have any notes with me other than the diary of errors that I had mentioned in the beginning. But yes, of course, I mean, everybody, because UPSC is a journey which is unique for everybody. So I mean, some people like it with notes, some people do it without notes, some people make notes but forget to revise those notes. So I mean, all kinds of things happen. But I think from what I've observed from my peers also, do not start making notes in the first reading of your book, because the first reading of your book you are doing to just familiarize yourself with that issue. If you start making notes out of those when you have not read the entire story or the entire content, you might end up making notes which are unnecessary. So if you are making notes, if necessary, however, I did not, so I will not strongly recommend for you to make notes about everything. But if you feel the need to make notes, do it only when you are revising it the second time.
Moving towards the next question, there's a question from Avi. What about those who are not much good with maths? How can they tackle CSAT examination? Those who are not good at CSAT, how they can manage it or get in love with it?
Not good at CSAT would mean not good at the mathematical portion, I'm assuming, right?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yeah. So I think I did speak about this during my interaction also. I mean, I had mentioned that, there are basically three aspects to CSAT. One is the English critical reasoning, etc., the grammar part, etc., so on. The second is the mathematical part, wherein they ask you questions about time, speed, distance, labor, etc., and they will give you some table, and you have to. It's a typical MBA type of questions that they ask. Third is the logic reasoning, wherein questions can vary from blood relation questions to anything, and so on and so forth. So if somebody who feels that they are not very good at the mathematical portion, you have the other two parts with you. Because the good part about CSAT is that it is a qualifying paper. You have to get 33% marks. You have to get 66 and a half out of 200. So you do not have that pressure of GS paper 1 that your total score will be added. So if you feel that you are not able to perform so well in maths, switch on to the other two topics. But having said that, do not ignore any topic. So for maths, what I would recommend is get hold of this Arihant book that I was mentioning, or any book for maths preparation, uh, which is there in the market for your MBA or your CAT exam. Because for CAT exam as well as for your CSAT paper, the maths questions are pretty similar. In addition to those, catch hold of the last 5 years CSAT paper and try to solve those. You will see that there will be at least one or two aspects in those maths questions also that you will be able to solve. It can be related to time, speed, distance. It can be related to your men and labor and time question. It can be related to one or two aspects, but it will not be like you are completely blank about it. So I think, this is how you should be tackling CSAT.
Moving towards the next question. There's a query from Asta side. Does the means of communication in interview play a major role? Does it matter that which language we use in interview, English or Hindi?
No, it does not. You can appear for your interview in English. You can appear for your interview in Hindi. However, whatever language you are using, as I said, it is not about the flowery words that you use, and it's not about the flowery language you use, but it's about how you are speaking. So you can definitely go there, speak in Hindi, but obviously, the way you are talking is what they are going to test, and the way you are reacting is what they are going to see, not the language that you are speaking.
Moving towards the next question. Sonu is asking, is there any specific websites that you had used in your preparation or do you think is good for us in improving our writing skills?
Um, okay,
Website.
website. See, writing skills, not particularly, because I myself had a hobby of, as I mentioned, food blogging. So I think that kind of helped me in my writing skills. Yeah, that sounds vague, but when you are writing a piece on a blog which is being read by people around the globe, you know that you have that pressure in you that, okay, this is how I have to write. So I used to go back to this to some of these tips in Renan Martin about essay, and but then that was done very initially. Once you start writing, then you get in that flow. So I did not use any writing material website per se, but the biggest help for me in my writing skills were the editorials that I have already mentioned about. If you are able to read the editorial, you will see that any editorial that is given in a reputed paper like the Hindu or the Indian Express, it will always have a flow in it. It will always have an intro. It will always have three or four major aspects about the topic. It will have some positives, some negatives, etc., some critical analysis, and then some conclusion. So I think that will be enough source for you to improve your writing skills.
Moving towards the next question. Sir Siddhant is asking, how can we properly manage the time? You mean to say that how can we manage the preparation along with the college? Any tips on that?
Sorry, I did not get you here. What?
Yeah. Siddhant is asking, how can we manage our time between the college and preparation?
Okay,
Time management tips.
time management.
That's good for.
Mhm. So, see here, I would not be giving a lot of my 2 cents because I will be talking about my own experience that, when I also obviously left my job because I was in the corporate sector. I did try to manage both those things, did not. So I took 6 months off and I wrote the exam. But I think while you're in college, the advantage that you have is that you're already in that education mode. So while you're traveling in the morning through the metro or through the bus, and I think no, right now there's COVID time, so I'm not very sure whether the colleges are open or not. I think what is the deal, Tushar? Have the colleges started or are they closed
So
still?
the colleges for final year science students have started,
Okay,
hoping that from next semester we can be having offline colleges.
acha, okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
So, okay. So I was just giving this general idea during normal times and not particularly COVID times. Like, say, for example, if you're traveling the metro in the morning or you are returning, or there are some breaks during your college, you can utilize that flipping through some daily news. You can utilize that reading through some daily content that I mentioned about, say, in a website like Vision IAS or Insights on India. And you can, in your college, just focus on the current part. Do not go too much into the detailed study of any particular subject, because you will not be able to do that with your college study. However, when you come back, if you are having, say, for example, 4 hours to yourself, try to devote at least 2 to 2.5 hours to your UPSC preparation, and 1 hour to your whatever your graduation needs are. But I know it becomes difficult, but I think this is what UPSC is testing. So this is the time management that you will have to do yourself, and you yourself will know in your own journey that, okay, मुझे कहाँ time मिल रहा है, मैं कहाँ से time निकालूं. But have this thing constantly in your mind कि तुम्हें time निकालना है. If you will have that thing in your mind, then you will be able to take out time somewhere during the entire day while you are in college as well.
Moving towards the next question from Sonu. On which time onwards we should start preparing for our current affairs? From which time onwards we should start preparing for current affairs?
So again, this I had mentioned when I was giving my session. So I think at least 1.5 years prior to your writing of the examination. I think that should suffice, because why I'm saying 1.5 doesn't mean you do not need to know what happened before that. But when you will go through the past 1.5 years, 5 years as well, because there would have been some over the last 5 years that you would be reading about in the last 1.5 years as well. So I think restricted to that. But from this point onward, because you all are UPSC aspirants, this is why we are having the interaction. If somebody is in the first year and has not started the current affairs preparation, please start it right now. The earlier you start, you do get a head start, and take my word for that.
Moving towards the last question of today's session, I guess. Avi is asking how to do the revision of the syllabus when it's done. He's asking for revision strategy.
Okay, so is he restricting it to prelims or to mains, or uh, because there has to be a different strategy for both?
Avi, would you like to? For both he's saying that, sir. It's a syllabus we're done with that. So how can we revise that?
Okay. So see, the first thing that you have to make sure when you are preparing for your exam, be it in prelims or in mains, is that you have to somewhere down the line curb your material, curb your resources. Okay, because yes, it is impossible for you in the last 1 week to go through everything that you have studied for your preparation. So you will have to make it concise somewhere. For prelims, I personally referred to that diary of errors that I was talking about. In addition to that, I did go through some laundry list of things for which I had made notes. It's not like I did not make notes completely 100%. I made notes for some of the most commonly asked questions about the important reports by bodies like IMF, World Bank, UN, etc. Questions on monsoon, El Nino, doc file. You can make an Excel sheet for that. You can write it through your hands. But you will have to make a laundry list of these static things that you will have to revise in the last week. And along with that, have a strategy for a full last month revision for your prelims as well as for your mains. For prelims, there are 7 subjects that you are doing: history, geography, culture, environment, so on and so forth. Give 2 days, 3 days, depending on what your strength is, what your weakness is. Say, for example, if you are weak in polity, give polity 3 days of revision. Give geography 2 days of revision if you are good at it. Have a last month strategy for both prelims as well as for mains, because that is when you are going to revise all of it. But in the last 3-4 days before the examination, just refer to the written material that you have jotted down, either in some diary or through the laundry list of things that I was talking about, and just keep going through that, because you will not be able to go through the entire syllabus towards the end.
So I think the last question from Avi is English in English service. English plays a very major role. How can we work on it?
Okay, so see, for English, first of all, then you download the question papers for English and you see the questions that are asked. I would just okay. So one resource that you will have to use for that you will have to use for English is the Wren and Martin grammar book, because a lot of questions, they do see the kind of answers that you are writing, and if you are grammatically not correct, I think somewhere you get penalized in the English paper, not for other GS papers, but in the English paper you may get penalized for that. So have Wren and Martin to improve upon your grammar. For questions related to critical analysis or reading passages, again, when you are doing your study for RC in CSAT, you will be covering that aspect of English for your forest mains as well. So for the RC papers, again, I think the material that is given for preparation for CAT, okay, for CAT, because in CAT also English is a very important aspect, because there also it carries a lot of weightage. Again, there's a book by Arihant which talks about critical reasoning and critical analysis, and RC, there's a book. You can refer to that, because if you are able to solve that, you will be able to improve, and you will be able to better understand the language that you have to use while writing. And finally, and most importantly, the newspapers. Again, I will be stressing that editorials are something that are going to be your Bible for improving your communication skills, both written and oral. And I think in English they ask for an essay and a letter writing. So I think these are things that you can Google and you can keep practicing, but do not ignore any of these aspects, because the English paper is of 300 marks, and it definitely carries weightage when your final score is calculated.
Thank you, sir. With this, I think we can end the question of the session and move towards the next session. That's a group photo. I request everyone to kindly turn on their camera so that we can have a group photo. I also request others who are joining via laptop or some other source to also take the pic along with us and share it with us later on.
Okay. We finally see faces here. That's so nice to see.
Thank you guys. I have taken the screenshot. You can find your pic at our official page handles. We shall be posting it there. So with this, sir, can we wind up the session then? Anything else?
Sure. Thank you so much for such a lively interaction session. Thank you.
So with just yeah. So I request everyone to kindly fill the feedback of today's session. The link is visible to you in our poster. We shall be also sharing it in our group too. We request everyone to share with us their valuable feedback so that we can improve on our upcoming sessions and give you a better service. With this, I would like to thank you all for coming to today's session and gracing the event with your presence. For wholeheartedly, we also